Come in, Mr. Windy.
Hi,
Good evening. I think this handwritten letter is from you, right?
Yes, sir. I'm afraid that I'm a little late, but I'm not quite my own master. I'm sorry that Miss Sophie has troubled you about this matter. Yeah, for I think it's far better not to watch none of the sort of in public. It was quite against my wishes that she can, but she is very excitable, impulsive girl, as you may have noticed, and she's not easily controlled when she has made her mind on a point. Of course, I didn't mind you so much as you are not connected with the official police, right? But it's not pleasant to have a family misfortune like this noises abroad. Besides, it's a useless expense, for how could you possibly find this Garnett, huh?
On the contrary, I have every reason to believe that I will succeed in discovering Mr. Garnett.
I'm so delighted to hear.
It's a curious thing that a typewriter has really quite as much individuality as a man's handwriting, unless they are quite new. No two of them write exactly alike. Some letters get more worn than others, and some wear only on one side. Now you remark in this note of yours, Mr. Windy, that in every case there is some little stirring over the I and a slight defect in the tail of Y. There are 14 other characteristics, but those are more obvious.
We do all our correspondence with the machine at this office, and no doubt it's a little worn.
And now I'll show you what is really a very interesting study, Mr. Windy. I think of writing another little monograph some of these days on the typewriter and its relation to crime. It is a subject to which I have devoted some little attention. I have here 4 letters which purport to come from this missing man. They are all typewritten. In each case, not only are the I's slurred and the Y's tailless, but you will observe, if you care to use my magnifying lens, that the 14 other characteristics to which I have alluded are there as well.
I cannot waste my time doing such a fantastic talk. If you can catch it, catch it. When you catch it, let me know. I'll come back.
Oh, you won't do. Really won't. There's no possible getting out of it, Mr. Windy. It's quite too transparent, and it was a very bad compliment when you say that it was impossible for me to solve so simple a question. That's right. Sit down and let's talk. That I have cocked it.
You've caught it? What? Where?
Hey, don't.
No. It's not actionable.
I'm very much afraid that it is not. But between ourselves, Mr. Windy, it was as cruel and selfish and heartless a trick in a petty way as ever came before me. Now let me just run over the course of events, and maybe you will contradict me if I go wrong.
The man married a woman very much older than himself with the money, and he enjoyed the use of the money of the daughter as long as she lived with him. It was a considerable sum for some people in their position, and the loss of it would have made a serious difference. It was worth an effort to preserve it. The daughter was of a good, amiable disposition, but affectionate and warm-hearted in her ways, so that it was evident that, with her fair personal advantages and her little income, she wouldn't be allowed to remain single long. Now that a marriage would mean, of course, the loss of 100 a year. So what does her stepfather do to prevent it?
He takes the obvious course of keeping her happy and forbidding her to seek the company of people on her own age. But soon he found that that would not answer forever. She became restive, insisted upon her rights, and finally announced her positive intention of going to a ball. What does her clever stepfather do then? He conceives an idea more creditable to his head than to his heart. With the connivance and assistance of his wife, he disguised himself, sunk that clear voice into an insinuating whisper, and doubly secure on account of the girl's short sight. He appears as Mr. Garnett and keeps off other lovers by making love himself.
Was just a joke at first. We never thought that she would have been so carried away.
Very likely not, however that may be. The young lady was very decidedly carried away, and having quite made up her mind that her stepfather was in France, the suspicion of treachery never for an instant entered her mind. She was flattered by the gentleman's attentions, and the effect was increased by the loudly expressed admiration of her mother. Then Mr. Garnett began to call, for it was obvious that the matter should be pushed as far as it would go if a real effect were to be produced. There were meetings, and an engagement, which would finally secure the girl's affections from turning towards anyone else. But the deception couldn't be kept up forever. These pretended journeys to France were rather cumbrous. The thing to do was clearly to bring the business to an end in such a dramatic manner that it would leave a permanent impression upon the young lady's mind and prevent her from looking upon any other suitors for some time to come. Hence, those vows of fidelity exact upon the testament, and hence also allusions to a possibility of something happening on the very morning of the wedding.
It may be so, or it may not, Mr. Jones. But if you are very sharp, you ought to be sharp enough to know that it is you who is breaking the law now, and not me, okay? I have done nothing actionable from first, but as long as you keep that door locked, you lay yourself open to an action for assault and illegal construction.
Yet there never was a man who deserved punishment more. If the young lady has a brother or a friend, he ought to lay a whip across her shoulders. By Jove. It's not part of my duties to my client, but here's a hunting crop hen, and I think I shall just treat myself too. He's really a cold-blooded scoundrel. That fellow will rise from crime to crime until he does something very bad and ends on the gallows. That the case has, in some respects, been not entirely devoid of interest.
Can I now entirely see all the stage of the reason?
If I tell her, she will not believe me. You may remember the old person saying, there is danger for him who takes the tiger cup, and danger also for whoso snatches the delusion from a woman. There is as much sense in Athens as in Horace, and as much knowledge